Hello everyone, and thank you for coming to our webinar today. I'm Hayato from Hermes, and the person in charge of overseas market. Today, we will introduce you casting. Casting is one of the common techniques to produce our products. Enjoy the Hermes world. Let's get started.
We will be introducing you to the formative art of casting today. Here are the topics we will cover in order. 1. Pros and cons of casting. 2. Casting process. 3. Finish options. 4. Installation at Milan Design Week. We will speak here about castings, but we have a deep connection to them, as we have been using casting since our founding, a traditional method for making castings. This time we would like to share with you some of the advantages of this method. So, first of all, pros and cons of casting. There are 3 major pros of casting. 1. The first is the flexibility in shape, size, and finish. Since it is a method using a mold, it is possible to express organic shapes that cannot be expressed with flat bars and pipes. 2. The second is the flexibility in productivity. As long as we have a mold, we can make even one, so we can produce without MOQ. 3. The third is excellent recyclability. The metal and sand molds left over from processing can be reused as many times as we like. In recent years, SDGs has become a hot topic, but isn't it one of the notable methods? There are also 3 major cons. 1. The first is that it costs a mold fee. There is a mold cost as an initial cost. 2. The second is the risk of shrinkage, cavity, and cracks. When the molten metal is poured, the flow of molten metal may not flow or cracks may occur when the metal is cooled and hardened. However, this problem is also a technical problem that can be cleared. 3. The third is that a production lead time is required. When manufacturing from scratch, it takes about 1 month to manufacture the mold, so the manufacturing lead time will be longer only for the first production. Next, we will explain the casting process. Here is an explanation of sand casting. Sand casting is a manufacturing method in which molten metal is poured into a mold made of sand to make a casting. In sand casting, upper mold and under mold are created separately, and these two are combined to complete the mold. Therefore, as shown in the figure on the right, we will prepare the upper and under parts for the core mold to make the product. In order to create a sand mold, the upper and under separated molds are removed, so it is necessary to consider the shape considering the slope. Each step will be explained in turn. Number 1. Setting under mold. Put the model in a suitable position, then make the runner mold. A runner mold is the route for molten metal. Number 2. Fill with sand and press down. Cover with sand to the extent that it protrudes from the mold frame and press it down with feet or tools. This pressed casting sand is called a sand mold. Number 3. Reverse under mold, then set upper mold, down sprue, and riser part according to the under mold. Down sprue is the route for molten metal. Riser is a reservoir built into a metal casting mold to prevent cavities due to shrinkage. The arrangement, shape, and size of this riser part are processes that require experience and skill. It is an important deciding factor whether it will be finished in a beautiful casting. Number 4. Put sand in it, and press it and combine the upper and under mold to complete the sand mold. Number 5. Remove the down sprue mold, separate the upper and under molds, and take out the core and runner mold. Number 6. Place the top and under sand molds in their original position. From the pouring basin to the core mold, an integrated space is created. Pour the molten metal from the pouring basin and wait for it to cool down naturally. Number 7. Break the sand mold and remove the metal. Casting sand can be reused. Since sprue and riser parts are still stuck together, cut out only final product part. Then another parts is going to be melt again and reuse. Next, the actual casting process was shot at the factory and made into a video, so please have a look. The first process is to put the core and runner mold and sand into the mold frame. First of all, water the sand to be put in the mold to loosen it. Sprinkle water to make it easier to harden the sand. Next, prepare the mold frame. The mold frame is divided into upper and under parts, and preparations are made from the under frame. Install core and runner mold for the under frame on the under frame, and sprinkle a mold release agent parting powder to make it easier to remove the core and runner mold and sand. Next, in order to fill the gap between the core and runner mold and the sand as much as possible, finely chop the sand with a colander and insert it into the under frame. After putting in sand that is fine enough to hide the core and runner mold, use a shovel to roughly put in the sand. In order to eliminate the gap between the molding mold embedded in the sand and the sand, tread the sand down. Further harden with stamps. After it has hardened sufficiently, use a long flat bar to even out the surface. Turn the under frame over and blow off excess sand with air. The core and runner mold for the under frame is still embedded. Install the upper frame on the under frame. Install the other upper frame core and runner mold according to the under frame core and runner mold embedded in the under frame. At this time, if the core and runner mold for the upper frame is shifted and placed, the product will be made in a shifted shape, so need to be careful. Install the down sprue mold and the riser mold. Sprinkle fine sand like the under frame, fill it with a shovel, harden the sand, and flatten it with a flat bar. Remove the down sprue mold and the riser mold. Actually, the dimensions of the down sprue mold and the riser mold are made by calculating the momentum of metal flow. The result of the molds depends on the result of the product. Separate the upper and under frames. From now, remove the core and runner molds embedded in the upper frame and the under frame. Connect the down sprue and the core and runner mold to create a route for molten metal. Carefully remove the core mold. The tap is cut on the core mold. Remove it with a screw cutting stick. Blow off excess dust and sand with air and set with a brush. Remove the core and riser mold for the under frame in the same way. Align the under frame with the upper frame again. At this time, a space in the shape of a lever handle is created. From now, pour metal. We carry out consistent production from aluminum casting to anodizing. By thorough component management, and now as you can see in the video, by floating and removing foreign substances with special technology, we ensure high and stable quality. Therefore, it is possible to make anodized castings, which is generally considered difficult. Unlike the painted finish of aluminum castings, anodized can express a deep color that is different from painting. At the end of the casting process, unnecessary parts such as sprues and riser are cut, and the shape of the lever handle is finally approached. So far, you have seen the scene of casting of lever handle. Next, we will show you a video of finishing and processing of cutting of casting, polishing, finishing, and assembling. In the video from now, the end part of the lever handle is processed and finished, and it will be a video for our hairline stainless steel color finish. First of all, we will finish the base material before coloring. Since just after the casting product has many burrs, use a buff to remove the burrs. The finish of the completed item is hairline this time, so polish it to be easy to make hairline. Make a hairline on the polished product. This processing creates the texture of the product. Next, we move on to the coloring process. In the case of aluminum casting, we have anodizing as a representative of finishing, and we will introduce it. There are multiple tanks for cleaning, degreasing, anodizing, etc., and they are finished by repeated processing. Since there are many processes, we have cut some of them. First of all, clean and degreasing the dust and oils adhering to the surface. Then, make fine holes on the surface so that the finish can be easily applied. Lastly, apply anodizing and color. Earlier, made a small hole on the surface of the base material, so finish to it. Not only give a finish to the base material, also have an advantage in terms of adhesion. After finishing, the process for the side screw and assembling the grip and the lever handle is completed. Up to here is the actual video from casting to the completion of the product. Next, we would like to introduce the features of our aluminum finish. It is an introduction of anodized finish. As mentioned in the previous video, our anodizing expresses deep colors unlike the painted products on the market. In addition, we can show various expressions by the texture of the base. For example, the grip part of the lever handle on the upper left picture and the door handle on the lower left picture are finished by shot peening. The end part is polished. The door handle on the right picture has a thread line, and even with the same color, it shows various expressions. This is a stone blast finish. Although it is made of metal, the texture is smooth and the finish is good to the touch. The texture with crushed stones gives a rough and dynamic impression, and can assert the originality of the space. Next, on the left side, it is a product that conveys the feeling of casting. A Japanese pattern is put on the surface to express the free texture unique to castings. Since it is made of sand mold, the fine sand texture and touch that are characteristic of sand mold are also one of the designs. The right side of the slide, painting finish is also possible. If we have a color number and gloss instruction, or if we have a color sample, we can match it, so we can coordinate according to the space. The cost of painting depends on the size and quantity, but we estimate it will be A+ from $100 to $200 in terms of levers. So far, we have introduced the casting process and finishing. We have a wide variety of product lineups, but other than that, we can also make various custom-made products. For example, we would like to introduce the flow of ordering this casting from scratch. First of all, we decide the shape based on the meeting. Until now, we used to check the shape with styrofoam and perspective, but recently it has become possible to discuss shapes using a 3D printer, and since it is possible to realize the desired shape in a short period of time, both of us can make a product without any mistakes. Once the shape is decided, it's a flow to make a mold and make it like the previous video. It's a cost to worry about, and it depends on the design, but if you make 100 sets of lever handles and consider the mold cost, the price will be roughly $250 to $350 as a list price. If you would like to have a meeting, please contact our salesperson or our company. In the end, We participated in and exhibited at the Milan Design Week held in 2019 and performed a casting production performance. Please take a look at the video of the installation, which will be played as the end roll of this seminar.
How was today's webinar? I hope you have better understanding for casting. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you for joining us today. Please take care, stay safe, and have a great day. Bye.